Okay, my turn. So, ladies, I'm talking to you, and men, it's good to know what we ladies go through, right? So don't zone out. We wear a lot of hats, don't we? Don't we, right? It's sometimes a little bit overwhelming. What are some of our roles? What are some of our titles? We're wives, right? We're moms. We're daughters. We're sisters. We're ministry leaders. We're taxi drivers. We're chefs. We're doctors. I mean, the list can go on and on and on, right? We work, there's so many different roles that we have, and sometimes it can get a little bit overwhelming. So I was trying to think about, okay, what am I going to speak on? It's like, why don't I do something that's a little bit fresh in my life right now? About a few months back, Eric came to me and said, hey, there's this job position that I think you should really look at. It's good money, it's good people that you can work with, and it's flexible hours. And I'm like, I haven't worked for 7 years. I wasn't planning on working for another year or two when my daughter went to school. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I thought he was kidding, right? Because I already had all these roles. I was already at capacity with everything I was doing, right? And he's like, oh, go get a job, huh? I'm like, okay, well, go ahead, honey. I don't know where my resume is. If you can find it on my computer, I don't know if it's relevant. He's like, so then like the next day, he found my resume and he updated it for me and he sent it in. I'm like, okay. But I'm like thinking, they're not going to call me. They're not going to want me. I haven't, God doesn't want me to work, right? Well, I got the call and they said they wanted me. So, I was a little uncertain about this. So I called my mentor and I said, all right, you got to help me with this perspective because are you sure I should be doing this? Because I feel like if I do this, then I'm not going to be able to do this. Because so what happens, men, to us women, is that we have these roles. Well, those roles don't go away. You just pile on the roles, right? You pile them on. And it becomes sometimes really heavy and really overwhelming. So I called my mentor and I said, what do you think? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And she's like, sometimes God puts things in our lives to help stretch us. She's like, when you think you are at max capacity, he's going to figure out a way to stretch that capacity. And I was like, okay, okay. So, I started praying about it. I started figuring it out. So that's what kind of why I want to talk about today is how to do it well. How to feel that pressure, how to feel that constant tug, that constant stretching, how to do it for the honor of glory of God. Because there's some principles I'm going to share, and I'm sharing them only because I have to remind myself daily of how to do this. Daily, it's a battle. Daily, it's a battle. So he wants us to be stretched, okay? One of the first things that I have to remind myself on always is nothing gets to me without first going through God. He knows me. He knows my weaknesses. He knows my strengths, right? He knows my temptation. Like he knows what I'm supposed to go through. He knows my end. He knows why he wanted to stretch me. He's got a plan. And then I got to just rest in knowing that there's a plan. So it's like, yeah, maybe I'm feeling frustrated and feeling overwhelmed, but it's like if I go to God and say, Lord, I know that there's a reason you're having me do this. There's a reason why you want to chisel me a little bit more. It's like, let him chisel you. Let him lean into it and say, okay, Lord, I can't do this on my own. I need your help. I need your help. I need your perspective. I need to know. What is it you want me to know, right? Nothing gets to me without first going through our loving hand of God, our Father, right? He is our Father. He loves us, and he wants to help us to get to that beautiful picture at the end of the time here on earth, right? Because it's going to be a whole lifetime of being stretched. And then also to get proper perspective. The second thing is to constantly be in check of yourself. It's like, to understand that I might have blind spots, right? Or that maybe I'm saying, okay, I have all these hats. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it great. And watch me go, guys. Here I go. I can do it. I can wear all these hats. And what's happening? It's just like Eric's last message of being a church of Sarah or being a church of Hagar. Am I doing it in the flesh? Am I saying, I'm going to get it done, I'm going to get it done, I'm going to get tasked? And then what I don't see sometimes what trail I'm leaving behind. I don't see that I'm short with the kids. I don't see that I'm neglecting my husband and what he needs. Or I don't see that I'm not honoring God at work because I'm complaining all the time, right? It's like to have that proper check, to talk to your husband, to talk to your mentor, to talk to a friend, and just say, man, am I going through this transition okay? Like, what do you see? How do you see me going through this? Because, I got to be honest. I don't know how I'm going to get through the day, and it's like, and they can encourage us, they can check us. And is our heart right? Right? Are we doing it out of our own flesh? Are we doing it to serve and honor God and to really, truly be chiseled? So I said, one thing I have to constantly do is be sure that my heart is right and get that proper perspective from a friend, from a mentor, from a coach, from my husband. And then the third thing that I try to remember, and I kind of want to share it through a story, is that we are all here for each other. We're a community of people in the church, right? So there's a story in the Bible, and I know you probably all heard it, but I'm going to share it again. It's a short story. I think it's like 8 verses long, but it's the story of Moses, and I think it's the very first war that the Israelites actually had to go through. And Moses was commanded by God that he's supposed to hold up the rod, right? The rod that was used to flee the slaves from Egypt, the rod that was used to change that serpent into, or all that stuff that he did, all the miracles, right? Not the theologian. But so he had this rod and he was holding it up. And he started getting tired, right? He was holding it up. He started getting so tired that I think first his legs must have gotten weak because they put a stone underneath him so he could sit down, right? He's like, okay. Then he had his brother Aaron and another man, H-U-R, right, was holding up his arms saying, okay, because his arms started getting weak. Because what happened was during the fight, Joshua was down in the battle and he was fighting against the Amalekites, okay? And Moses was saying, no, I'm gonna hold up this rod. And I think it was a sign, a couple of signs. There's one for encouragement for the army, right, that God's staff is here. And also it could have been intercessory to God, that God was there. And so he was holding up, and Moses started getting tired. So when Moses started getting tired, his arms started coming down. And then all of a sudden, the Amalekites started winning the battle, right? But he had to hold it up. If he held it up high, the Israelites would win. So the partners came alongside him and started holding up their arms for him. Aaron's got arms holding up. Has an arm holding it up. And lo and behold, the Israelites were victorious. It was awesome, right? So I kind of think sometimes that's us, women, in a couple different ways. First of all, we hold up the arms of our husband. We hold up the arms of our children. We hold up the arms of our coworkers. Even at the grocery store, do you get this at the grocery store? People will just all of a sudden, just a complete stranger will come up to you and say, let me tell you about what's going on in my life. And you're just like, I don't know you. And I don't know why you're talking to me, but I want to encourage you, and you encourage them, don't you? It's like, I don't know what that is, but it just happens to us, right? That we are encouragers. We are to be the ones that help hold up our others' arms. But who's holding up your arms, right? Who's holding up your arms when things start getting tough, when things start to get stretched, when things aren't going the way that you normally go, when change happens in your life? Change isn't easy, but change is constant. And we have to be able to do it in the proper perspective that God wants us to, right? So what I've noticed is what I've tried to do, and I'm not perfect at it, and I need to do it more because I'm being stretched right now, right? Is to go to my friends and say, guys, okay, you help me out here. It's like, I need some girl time. Let's just quiet out and let's just go. It's like when I come to church, it's like I can listen to worship music and I feel that my arms are being held up, that all you're singing is holding up my arms saying, yes, I do praise you, Lord. Yes, we are winning, because as soon as those arms come down, who wins? Not us. Someone else is winning, and it's not on our side. The devil's winning. We need our arms up. We need to support each other, and we need to be a support to others, right? And we need to look for that. We need to look for that in each other to help support us. We're not doing this. It's not a solo life. It's not a solo journey. Like, no one is here to judge you. No one is here to say you failed. Like, if I fail, like, okay, so at work during this whole stretching time, I did some things that were wrong. You know, I complained, right? I mean, it's like I started complaining about things, and I'm supposed to work 20 hours, not 30 hours. I'm supposed to do this and not that. And it's like I had to go back and I had to apologize to those people, because that's not honoring to God. So when we don't have our support, when we don't, and I'm talking to you too as leaders, right? So it's like I'm assuming that you know we must be in our word. I'm assuming that you know we must be in prayer. I'm assuming that you know Sundays services are important to hear the word of God, right? So like I'm talking about these other extra things that we can do to help go through these changes in our life, to help battle the overwhelming feelings that sometimes we have. So I just want us all to look at these challenges and just say, yes, Lord, use me. Yes, Lord, help me be wise. Help me to learn from my mistakes. Help me to understand that making mistakes isn't failure. That making mistakes, if I learn from them, is a way that you can mold me, is a way that you are creating who you want me to be through those mistakes. It's like if we're so scared to jump out and take on a new capacity, if we're scared I'm too busy to do that. I'm too busy to do that. It's like God's never going to use us for his honor and his glory. Now, and another thing, it's like with the getting Pepper's perspective, going back to that point, it's like be careful not to be a martyr either. Don't shoot yourself in the foot by saying, well, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. And then before you know it, you're running ragged, right? Like I remember when Eric first stepped down from, if I can share this, sorry. When he first stepped down from our old church, we had 3 kids, right? And they were maybe 3.5, maybe 4 and under. So we had diapers, we had formula, we had all that it was a big burden of money, right? And he was concerned. He was our breadwinner, and he was like, okay, I'm going to work. I'm going to work, and 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 I'm going to work. Well, I think we filed like 9 different sources of income streams that year. 9 different sources. And it was crazy, but it was like, so it was a time when we got together and we talked through it. We got perspective. And it was like, okay, why don't I just go get a job and you work one and I work one and we have 2 income streams and it's not so crazy. Like, is what you're doing necessary? Is what you're putting on yourself, is it necessary? So that's where it's also helpful to get someone's outside perspective. Because it's like sometimes you feel like you're working, you're doing your task. But if it's not beneficial to you, it's probably not the best thing. There's a better solution. I'm thankful for his 9 different income streams because we survived and things. But we had talked through it because it was like, well, like I'm dying, I'm alone, I got 4 kids, and I'd rather go to work, right? I mean, not that I didn't want to be with my kids, but it was hard. I mean, it was hard. They were an infant and 2 toddlers, But so just get that proper perspective. Know that God is in control of our lives, of everything we do. Know that we have friends and mentors that we can come to for encouragement. We can come to get support. And the friends that you choose to talk with, it's like the friends that you choose to talk with, I don't have to be careful on when you're thin, right? When you're thin, when your wick is small, It's like, be careful on who you choose to talk to. Like, that's not the time that I'm going to go talk to somebody who doesn't support me in my ministry and say, hey, what do you think I should do? Because I'm overwhelmed with things. They're going to tell me to stop doing my ministry. What are you doing? Right? Or if someone who, I don't know, doesn't really believe in me, someone who maybe you know that they kind of judge me once in a while, I'm not going to go to that person and tell them my weaknesses. It's like, you got to find somebody who's really has your best interest at heart. Someone who really knows, loves you. Someone who knows, wants you to succeed in all areas of your life. That's the people who you want to talk to go through that, to share your burdens with. So anyway, I just hope that helped. I want just us all to be encouraged that, ladies, you're not alone. You're not alone in being stretched. You're not alone in having change in your life. That we're all here. We're all here for each other. We're all here together. And God wants us to keep plotting, keep plotting, keep plotting, keep plotting, keep going. Check, check, check. Make sure your heart is right. Make sure you're doing it for the glory of God. And make sure you're doing it with a good attitude. I love you guys.